Okay, so if you've spent any time at all in the gardening world online, you've definitely seen it. That jar of water, a soggy banana peel floating inside, being called a free, organic superfood for your plants. It's a viral trend that promises amazing flowers and lush growth, but does it actually work? Let's dive in and get to the bottom of it.
I mean, from TikTok to Pinterest, you see videos everywhere with people swearing by this super simple kitchen scrap hack. The claims are huge, right? But the actual science behind it, well, it can be a little slippery. So today, we're going to cut through all that hype and figure out if you're brewing a miracle fertilizer or just a sugary trap for pests.
So why did this thing blow up in the first place? Well, the logic behind it is just so appealing. On the surface, it makes perfect sense. Okay, let's break down the thinking here, because it's pretty compelling. We all know that potassium, the K in the NPK fertilizer ratio, is absolutely key for getting great flowers and fruit. And what are bananas famous for? Being packed with potassium. So the idea is that if you soak the peel, all that good stuff leaches out into the water, and boom, you've got a free, all-natural bloom booster. It's a simple, elegant idea that's, well, it's built on a huge misunderstanding of how this stuff actually works. Right, so this is where that simple logic starts to completely fall apart. We've got to look at the actual chemistry and biology of what's happening in that jar. So get this, according to agricultural analysis, the nutrient ratio of a dried banana peel is something like 0.6-0.4-11.5. That last number, 11.5, that's the potassium. That is a huge amount of potassium. I mean, on paper, this looks like one of the best organic fertilizers you could possibly find. The potential is absolutely there, but there's a really big catch. And here it is. This is the core of the problem. It's something we can call the extraction fallacy. See, all that wonderful potassium isn't just sitting on the surface of the peel, waiting to be rinsed off. No, it's locked up tight inside the plant's tough cellular walls made of cellulose and lignin. Just soaking the peel in a jar of tap water for a couple days is just not powerful enough to break those walls down and release the minerals. So if you're not getting much potassium, what exactly are you pouring on your plants? Well, the main things that do leak out are simple carbohydrates. We're talking sugars and starches. You might get a tiny, tiny trace of minerals, but what you've really created isn't a fertilizer. It's basically dirty sugar water. And that is where the real trouble begins. Because that sugary concoction doesn't just fail to feed your plants, it can actively harm them. It does that by inviting a whole bunch of unwanted guests to the party and totally messing with the delicate balance in your soil. Okay, let's get a little nerdy for a second. Healthy soil microbes, the good guys, they need a balanced diet. The perfect ratio of carbon to nitrogen for them is about 24:1. But banana peels are super high in carbon, with a ratio of more than 50:1. So when you pour that sugary, high-carbon water in, you're giving the microbes a massive sugar rush without any of the protein they need to actually process it. And here's the kicker. The microbes in the soil go into a feeding frenzy on all that sugar. But to build their own bodies, they need nitrogen. Since your banana water didn't provide any, they start stealing the available nitrogen directly from the soil, the exact same nitrogen that your plant needs to grow healthy, green leaves. This is a real thing. It's called nitrogen immobilization, and it can literally lead to yellowing leaves and stunted growth. And hey, if starving your plant wasn't bad enough, you're also rolling out the welcome mat for every pest in the neighborhood. That sugary fermenting topsoil is a perfect breeding ground for fungus gnats. The jar itself is a magnet for fruit flies. And pouring sugar water around your home, well, you can bet that will attract ants and even roaches. On top of all that, it promotes this foul-smelling anaerobic bacteria, which creates a sour, rotting smell. It's a total mess. But hold on, this doesn't mean you should just throw your peels in the trash. Not at all. All that amazing potassium is still in there. You just have to change how you deliver it. You need a method that actually works with nature, not against it. For anyone who loves a good hack, but wants one that's actually backed by science, this is for you. First, you dry the peels out completely. You can bake them or just sun-dry them till they're crispy like a potato chip. Then, you pulverize them into a fine powder in a blender. By mixing this powder directly into your soil, you've massively increased the surface area, which lets the soil microbes break it down fast and release all those nutrients without attracting pests. Of course, the absolute best method, the gold standard, is just good old-fashioned composting. When you add your peels to a proper compost pile, you're letting a whole diverse ecosystem of microbes do the heavy lifting over time. This process safely unlocks not just the potassium, but all the other great nutrients, turning your kitchen scraps into that black gold that gardeners love.
So, after all that, the verdict on banana peel water is pretty darn clear. It's not just ineffective, it's really just a gardening placebo, and one that has some seriously nasty potential side effects.
This is the big question, though, isn't it? If it's so bad, why do thousands of people online claim it worked wonders for them? Well, it usually boils down to two things. First is what I call the hydration factor. A lot of people start this new routine, and they just end up watering their plants more consistently than before. The plants perk up because they're finally getting enough water, not because of the peel. And second, there's observer bias. You start using the fertilizer in the spring right when plants are naturally bursting with new growth anyway, and you mistakenly give all the credit to the banana water. This final comparison table really tells the whole story. On one side, you have banana water. Nutrient availability is super low, you risk robbing your soil of nitrogen, and the pest risk is high. On the other side, you have proper methods like composting or dehydrating. You get the full profile of minerals, a balanced impact on soil nitrogen, and basically zero pest risk. It is just a night and day difference. So the big takeaway here is this. A banana peel is a fantastic source of nutrients for your garden. It really is, but only if it's processed the right way. So instead of brewing some questionable tea that can cause more harm than good, focus on methods that actually build healthy living soil. Your plants, and probably your nose, will thank you for it.